Good morning. I'm Sarah Milroy, the Chief Curator at the McMichael, and I'm here this morning with John Hartman, who's in his studio in Midland, Ontario. And of course, John's fantastic portraits of Canadian authors are up at the gallery right now through until November. Please come up and see this beautiful show. It went up on the walls just before the COVID closures, and we were very fortunate that John and Woodstock Art Gallery were able to allow us to extend the show through until November so that people can see it now, which they couldn't, of course, see it this spring and earlier in the summer. But we are open at McMichael from Thursday to Sunday now regularly, and we have all sorts of great safety measures in place, so don't be scared to come see us. Of course, we've also got our beautiful trails, so you'll have a great outdoor experience as well. But it's all about John Hartman at the McMichael right now. And I understand, John, we were talking the other day and you mentioned that you've been making a whole new body of work, which I also wanted to bring to our audience at McMichael, because it sounds like such an amazing body of work to be making in the middle of this very strange moment in history that we're living in right now. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I actually started it last summer, and the starting point of it was that the water levels on Georgian Bay go through a 30-year cycle. It's like a tide, but it takes 30 years to go from high water to high water.
Yeah.
And last summer we got very close to the high water mark, and it brought much greater water depth into these back bays of Georgian Bay, some of which were dry in 2013. And then with the water came all sorts of aquatic life, and then amphibians and reptiles and mammals and birds. And after realizing that there was all of this activities in places where there had been none, I thought it would be interesting to make a series of paintings about that, about how adaptable nature was to these really rapid changes in circumstances. And so I had to figure out how to draw birds and frogs and fish, and how to put them in a landscape, how to make paintings that still look like Hartman paintings.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've combined aerial photographs of the places with images of the animals and birds and the people. And because they're aerial photographs, if I put the people and animals in at scale, they would be tiny little wee things hard to see.
Yeah.
So I just made a kind of executive decision to put them in the space between the viewer and the landscape. And if they're a bird, that makes sense. The bird could be anywhere. If it's near you, it's big. If it's far away, it's small. But when there's a canoe with a person in the sky, you have to suspend your disbelief, as you do with a fish that's floating in the sky, or a snapping turtle, or any of these other things.
We've been used to looking at your Canadian authors floating in the sky.
Yes.
You've trained us well to expect the unexpected in your paintings.
Yeah, so it's not that big a leap, as all changes in my work. And it was a good thing to follow the author portraits with, because for them, I had to, there was a lot of personal interaction. I had to meet with people. I had to sketch them and photograph them. All that became impossible with the onset of the pandemic. And so this was something that was where I could still go out and collect the information. You know, once the Ontario government gave me permission to get in a boat and go back out into that landscape, I began doing it. And there was a time kind of slowed down in April, May, June, and July. And I was able to just spend a lot of very, what sometimes was unproductive time and sometimes was productive, but I was just paddling around, looking at things, sitting and watching nature, and photographing it and sketching it when things came close enough to me. And I didn't have to worry about how fast I was making paintings.
Right, exactly, which had been rather the case with the author portraits.
Yes, because the curator at the McMichael
had all sorts of ideas for you. You're saying that the wildlife behaviors and inhabitation of the region changed because of the high water levels. Yes. Do you think it was also affected by the general calming of the planet? I mean, do you think that, do you feel that there was a sense of, nature kind of thriving in a different way because of the pandemic?
I think so. I mean, normally when I go up after the ice goes out, there's a short period of a week or 2 weeks when there are simply an awful lot of animals and birds around, partly because they're migrating, but mostly just that there haven't been any people there.
Right.
But that usually changes very quickly, but this year it didn't. This year, even by the second week of July, there were still lots and lots and lots of activity. And I think it's also partly that I figured out their habits. And so I realized that, the sandhill cranes were on 2 sets of islands because they had their young on those islands, and the young can't fly for quite a period of time. So I also began to learn where to go and look for them.
Nice.
Because I was looking for them rather than before I just happened to see them flying by and I go, oh, there's another sandhill crane.
Yeah. So you actually had the time to slow down and learn more about behaviors and so on. What were some of the most extraordinary things that you saw during that period of time? First of all, where's your base camp there? Where are you?
Well, it's on an island south of Britt, Ontario. So it's at the northeast corner of Georgian Bay.
Okay.
The most surprising thing was I came around the corner of this very wonderful back bay called Prisk Bay, named after a local family. And I came around the corner and I saw what I thought was some kind of bird in the weeds. I couldn't figure out what it was. I could just see 2 things that were sticking up brown and moving like this. And I sort of paddled the canoe closer, and then I zoomed in with my camera, and I still couldn't figure it out. And I got a little bit closer, and then I realized it was a moose feeding, but she was right down to her shoulders in the water. And then when she'd stick her head underwater, it would all disappear. And then when she came back up, all I saw were the ears. And eventually I got close enough. And then one of the dilemmas I always face is, do I disturb the animal enough that it starts moving and I get interesting photographs?
Yeah.
Or do I just, so I just sat there, and I sat there for about 20 minutes. She finished feeding. She finally realized I was there because I was downwind, and she wasn't smelling me. And then she just sort of turned and slowly got up and walked through the water up onto the shore, looked back at me like, you really did interrupt my
Thanks for nothing.
Walked very slowly into the bush. And anytime I'd come across a moose in the past, they were trying to get away very fast.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So she was pretty calm.
Yes.
Yeah. And anything else come to mind in terms of close encounters or things you learned about the animals around you up there in Georgian Bay?
Well, I'm learning more about beavers. There had been a trapper in the area who let his license go about 10 or 15 years ago. And as a result, the beaver population has just skyrocketed. But they, because of their activity making dams, they take what would normally be a whole bunch of little streams and turn them into what we call inland lakes.
Yes.
Lakes sit a bit above the water level of the bay that after a big rain, drain in. And what I'm learning is that the point at which the dam enters the bigger body of Georgian Bay, it creates a little mini rich ecological environment. So go and sit at that point early in the morning. First of all, there's like kind of more aquatic life where the dam empties out. Yeah. So fish come in, and then animals that feed on fish come in. So I was sitting there in the morning, and a mother raccoon and her baby started walking across the dam right at me. All the land-based animals use the dam as a highway.
As a smorgasbord too.
Yeah, and as a place to eat. And then there's lots of bird life. Yeah. The great blue herons are feeding on frogs and things, although they're very hard to get close to. Mm-hmm. You have to be pretty adept to get close to one of those.
To work on your stillness capacity.
Yes.
So are you planning to spend a lot more time there as we go into the fall?
Well, I'll spend a bit more time in August, but really what I've been doing is I've been collecting photographs, making watercolor studies, such as the two behind me here,
Yes. Yeah.
in anticipation of making some larger paintings. But I have to spend more time in my studio in La Fontaine making those paintings.
Yeah.
And I've got lots of little watercolor studies, some little oil studies. I'll bring them all home. All the photographs are on my computer, and I'll start to figure out how to organize them.
How to put them all together.
Yes, yeah.
Well, what a wonderful period of time you're having, and what a great body of work is coming out of it. And it's so nice to not have to spend so much time with humans.
Well, you know,
You
like
enjoying that?
everybody else, I'm really, really lucky because I had a studio on my property, and I've had a place I can go to in the summer. But I really miss interaction with people too. That, you know, I love my family, and I'm spending a lot of time.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Which I'm really enjoying. But on the other hand, I think we are all missing just being in front of people.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to when things improve and we can all chat without masks and
Of course.
don't
But
have.
in the meantime, you know, you're having a whole other experience that would never have been really probably in your life and your schedule. You know,
Yes.
you would never have the possibility to have this all be available to you in this way.
Yes.
Sounds like you've really made the most of it.
Well, it's been fun.
Can't wait to see these in the flesh. Anyway, John, thank you so, so much for being with us. And again, everyone, come and see John's beautiful paintings of Canadian authors from across the country at McMichael through until November. We look forward to seeing you. And John, once again, thanks for everything.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.